We are now at the point where we need to develop the teleportation logic to take the user from one location to the next, including fading out the view during the teleport to reduce the chance of motion sickness. Let's create this logic in the BPP pawn class so that all of the children can share that logic. In our case, the VR pawn and the PC pawn. The teleporting logic we will develop is the same, so we only need to make it once. Open BPP pawn and implement our BPI Studio Showcase interface and add our event teleport user to location to the event graph. We'll use the return to enum to find where we need to teleport to, and to do this, create a new function named getAllMapPoints. Add a getAllActors of class node and set the actor class to our BP map point locations. These are of course the actors we arranged around the map that we will retrieve the transform from. Save the out actors as a variable and add the function to the end of event begin play. Get a reference to our new variable, and after a for each loop, drag off of array element and get a reference to eMapPoint. And if the value of this eMapPoint is equal to the value that has been requested by the function, save the actor transform as a variable named teleport2transform. Create a new custom event named teleport user to map point and call it after the completed execution of the for each loop. Add a comment to this custom event that the events here will be unique to pawn. The process of teleporting a user in VR versus using a PC is a bit different in the way that you would rotate the camera. So I will set up this event in the VR pawn but have the call here. Open the BPC VR pawn and add the teleport user to new map point event. Click the eye at the top of the My Blueprint tab and turn on Show Inherited Variables. You will see that we have access to the teleport2transform variable that we had just created in the parent pawn. Add a set world location and rotation node to the VR root and connect the location and rotation from our variable. Back in the parent pawn, create another custom event named Fade Camera. We'll come back to this in a bit. Now we need something to call these functions. Open your W_map_point and add an onClicked event to the button. Get all actors with our BPI Studio Showcase interface, and after a for each loop, cast to BPP pawn so that this event is only called where we want it to be. Finally, as BPP pawn, call teleport user to location and provide this map point's eMapPoint to the input. Create another custom event that will be unique to pawn named user has teleported. Call this event in VR pawn after the teleport user to new point event. When the user has teleported event is called, pause the map interaction timer and hide the map. Before we test, I noticed that we forgot to add something to our input logic from when we set up the spawning of the map logic. Pan up to the inputs, and after we check if the variable is valid, we'll ask if it is not hidden, as in if it's visible. If it is visible, call the user pressed trigger event. If it's not visible, check if the other hand is also pressed. Let's test this to see how it's all working. Spawn the map and click one of the map points. I'll select the posters point. Okay, cool. Now I'll respawn the map and there it is. What if I wanted to go to another location? And there we go. Next, let's make sure the cursor starts out hidden so we don't see it until we are interacting. Open BP 3D map and select user cursor and turn off visible. Okay, let's work on that fade camera event that we created a bit ago. We want to add it to the completed execution where teleport user to new map point currently is. To fade the camera, get a reference to the player camera manager and create a start camera fade node. We will be fading from alpha 0, as in not faded at all, to alpha 1, as in fully faded. Drag off duration and promote that to a variable so we can use it to fade back in. Add a sequence node. Then 0 will be the logic to delay by the fade duration plus half a second, stop the camera fade, and call a new camera fade going from alpha 1 to alpha 0 for the same duration. Then 1 will delay for the fade duration, then call the teleport user to new map point function. This way, the move will happen in the 0.5 seconds that the screen is completely dark. and the user will never see the snap to the new location. Test this again in VR. When I click on a map point, the fading is starting, and it teleported while it was fully hidden. But I didn't like that the map was still there during the fade. Let's move that event so it is called as soon as we teleport. I'll delete the call from our VR pawn and place it right before fade camera in the parent pawn. Let's test again. Yeah, there we go, much better. You have learned about the camera manager, how to control fading, and how to move our pawn to a new location and rotation based on a target object. A player can now experience this showcase in VR and spawn a navigation map to travel around the level.